survey at 37%. And then Donald Trump, very similar, 37%. And Joe Biden sits at about the same percentage point, right in the 30s, 37%. So overwhelmingly unfavorable opinion of both of these two individuals among young voters. So Harry, from your perspective as a Biden supporter, what are your peers getting wrong?
Um, I'm not necessarily sure it's what my peers are getting wrong. I think it possibly might be what the administration is doing wrong when it comes to messaging.
Okay.
I think that the Biden administration has done so much for young people. Whether it's on climate change or historic investments in infrastructure or even education investments. There's a lot there that young people should be excited about. I mean, the largest investment in fighting climate change ever is something that we can all be really happy about, really excited about. But I think that on the occasion, the administration does a poor job of kind of pitching these things to young people, which is sort of understandable given the era we're in right now with social media and technology. I don't think anybody has really perfected how we get the message through social media, like in terms of politics. I think a lot of people on social media have, but not necessarily politics. So I think once we get that message out more, once we start saying, hey, look at all these amazing things that the Biden administration has done for young people, especially as we get close to the election, more money is involved in politics. The opinions, at least on favorability, will start to shift.
Okay.
This is absolutely absurd. I hear them talking about this all the time, and it's ridiculous. It's messaging. Let me tell you, if I create the most amazing cell phone ever, I mean, absolute game changer, not marketing buzzword, literally, literally a game changer, but it is something that will absolutely be a game changer for, many people. Completely destroys every other cell phone. I mean, we're talking about a phone that has twice the video resolution of any other phone, yet uses up only a fraction of the space. You can shoot in complete darkness and have it look, very clear, right? Complete darkness, and where you can't see anything with your eyes with the video. So basically, shooting in dark, in full color. It has some technology where you never ever again have to have any problems with your sound quality. Everyone's voice is clear and your voice is heard clearly. So even though someone's talking to you using a different phone, they benefit from the fact that you have this new phone because it has some new technology. The phone is thinner than any other phone. It doesn't need any cases. It's indestructible. You could drop it on the ground and no scratches, no damage, whatever. Waterproof. I mean, on and on and on and on. If I created that phone, I would absolutely not have a problem selling it and be having to explain, oh, it's the messaging. The ads are not really promoting these features. Listen, if I create a phone like this, the minute that someone experiences it, they're going to tell everyone they know. They're going to not be able to shut up about it. And then they're going to tell everyone they know, not going to be able to shut up about it. And then, people that are hearing about it, they're going to be like, oh, they're going to check it out. They're going to buy it. They're going to be just so blown away. They're going to spread the word. You don't need to advertise a really, really great product, right? If it's really, really an amazing thing, it's such a big deal, it's going to sell itself. The idea that the issue with the Democrats' messaging is absolutely absurd. If you need messaging to get people to realize how great you are, then clearly you're not that great, right? Let me translate it into political terms. Let's say Biden actually did something about minimum wage like he talked about before he actually got elected. Let's say minimum wage was adjusted, relative to where you are, relative to the cost of living where you are, such that every American, right, regardless of the job that you're working, every single American now makes enough money to be able to survive. You can pay for your food, you can pay for your rent. Do you think if Biden did this, and dishonest actors or just people just, you know, just won't accept the truth, will say Biden couldn't do that. It's not about what he couldn't do, right? I'm not saying this is the thing that he should have done and why didn't he get that done. I'm just saying if he did something like this, if he did big things, you wouldn't need to worry about messaging, right? If he did this, can you imagine people still sitting there, well, I don't know, man, let's try Trump. Are you kidding me? I mean, you're talking about before Biden was elected, you had millions of families that were struggling to make ends meet, right? Then Biden gets elected, he puts in this bill with this minimum wage thing, and all of a sudden, millions of families now have enough money to make ends meet. They're now starting to be able to pay off their debt, right? You think you need messaging to get them to vote for you if you did something like that? Let's say that Biden did some big move with healthcare. Well, look at the drugs thing. He does this drug thing, pushes it years into the future. It's only 10 drugs. Very very marginal, and again he pushed it in the future, so no one's seeing any impact of that. Imagine if he actually did something where there was an immediate impact. Millions of Americans are struggling with these crazy bills. They got to pay for these pills, and it's so much money. Imagine someone every day, they're struggling to make ends meet. One of the reasons for that is because of the money they're spending on drugs. Biden gets elected, pushes through this bill. Now all of a sudden, this person that was spending, I don't know, $200 a month on some drugs, or their pills they need or whatever, and then struggling to get by because that $200 is a big deal for them. All of a sudden, they're not spending $200; they're spending $25. So now all of a sudden they have so much more cash, and maybe that drug expense was the thing that pushed them over the edge in terms of like they're struggling, right? So you remove that, all of a sudden it's like they can breathe. Like, wow, at the end of the month, for the first time in maybe years, they have extra cash laying around. Can you imagine worrying about like, oh, we gotta get messaging? You need to message to this person who previously was struggling and now they're not struggling. Now their drugs are much cheaper. You need a message to them. I mean, the only reason you needed to message them is if they have this benefit and they didn't know that it was because of Biden, right? What else is there? So let's say Biden made some big moves about all these shootings. He made some big law, such and such, and a background check. And then we look at the charts and we see the amount of shootings going like this, right? All of a sudden, people start to notice I hardly hear about any shootings anymore. Do you remember the last time there was a shooting? And again, I'm not saying that these are specific things that he should have done. I'm just giving examples of if he actually was doing something big, right? You wouldn't need to message people. People would notice the less shootings. People would notice their, $200 drugs is only $25 or it's free, right? People would notice that, their salaries have increased drastically, and it would be an instant thing, right? I mean, that the Democrats do it, they push it into the future, but if they made it so that, it's right away. So you had your last paycheck, you got this amount, and then all of a sudden you get another paycheck, and it's like way, way more. I mean, even if you don't watch any news, no, you're not in politics at all. When you see your salary go up, aren't you gonna be like, what the hell's going on? Your boss probably gonna explain to you before he does it, but then aren't you gonna be like, what hey, why did my salary go up? I'm like, oh, that's the Biden minimum wage act just got passed. Oh wow, I never liked that guy, but goddamn, he did that. Let's get more of this. I never voted before, but goddamn, I'm gonna vote, man. This guy, I'm shocked. This is the first time in my entire life that I've had such a major impact on my life because of a president. So I gotta make sure. And then Trump wants to. I remember when Trump was in, I don't feel like he did anything. Biden, you don't need messaging if you're doing big things, man. Imagine he did something where college is free, right? Imagine he did some big bill where they're gonna start building a bunch of low income housing and do it in the right way. And all over the country, there's major construction going on, and you see the signs that say future economical housing. I don't know if they want to call it low income, but it's like it's advertised right there on the sign, and people are like, what's going on? Oh, that's the Biden Housing Act. It got passed, so they're going to build up a whole new thing. It's supposed to be really, really nice. It's going to be really affordable, safe, and all you have to pay is like 25% of the rent or whatever it is, right? If Biden was doing big things, you wouldn't need to worry about messaging. You need messaging when you don't really have something that people can feel. So you've got to seduce them with your words and speak it about it as if it's look at how we negotiated drug prices, right? Why do you have to say that? Because whatever negotiating with drug prices is not even relevant yet. So there's no impact, right? You did something that has no impact, no immediate impact. So if there's no immediate impact, then there's currently no impact. So people don't feel anything. So therefore, you need a message. You need to say, listen, I know that you're not feeling the impact, but guess what? In a few years, da-da-da-da. Right? That's why you'd have to do the messaging. Focus less on messaging and focus more on getting the job done. And also, I want to comment about this idea of, the largest investment in climate change in our lifetime or something like that. Listen, um, if you have a guy who you hired 3 months ago and he's never showed up for work even once, I mean, him showing up for work would be the biggest accomplishment in history of them working there, right? I mean, when the bar is really low, when you haven't really done much in the past, doing anything at all would be historic. Like, this is the largest ever. This is the kind of thing where they trick you, right? They're tricking you using words that sound nice and not focusing on what really matters. I don't want the largest ever in history. Like, I don't get caught up in that stuff. The first black president, the largest. I don't care about that. Largest and the first. That's trivial stuff. You want a pin, put a pin on your jacket that says first blah blah blah. I don't care about that, right? What I want to hear about is something that stands on its own, right? You're bragging that compared to what we've done before, this is the largest, right? I don't want, it's not a competition. I don't want to be competing with what we did before because we haven't been doing much before, right? I want something to compete with itself, meaning on its own, right? On its own, the value is how significant it is, right? I want to hear we did something that massively affected climate change, right? Biden did something that reduced emissions by 40%, right? Because if we've never done anything to reduce emissions and you do something that reduces emissions by 2%, that would be the largest ever, right? The largest reduction. I don't care about largest ever, right? I care about that it's significant, period, on its own, not compared to anything else. So we look at it and we say, we did a 40% reduction on climate emissions, sorry. That would be something that'd be very significant, right? That's not necessarily something somebody would feel, but knowing the effects of climate change, I mean, you can feel it immediately, right? Knowing the effects of climate change and seeing that emissions are a big part of it, and you reduce it by 40%, I think most Americans would be like, all right, this guy's serious about climate change, right? If you're concerned about climate change and you see the statistic that Biden reduced by 40%, that's a meaningful statistic. Bragging about the largest ever, that's just your better than the next guy mentality, right? We're just gonna make sure that we're not as bad as the competition, and we're gonna run on that. If you don't vote for us, you're gonna get the other guy. At least we did the 2%. With that guy, you're gonna get negative 10%. You're gonna go backwards. That's what they're running on, right? So the reason why people don't like Biden, the reason why he's not as popular as he should, the reason why he's tied with Trump is because he has been a weak sauce president. I think everyone that brags about him and say he's so great, they're all comparing him to Trump or previous presidents. They're not looking at what is the impact of what he's doing. What is the immediate impact or short-term impact of what he's doing? When you focus on the impact of what he's doing, it's not really very impressive, right? When you focus on comparing him to others and other presidents, then it's easy to be like, look at all this stuff, and with the other guy, listen, man, that's your prerogative if you want to take that approach. But then if you're gonna take the approach of just being not as bad as the other guy, then don't be surprised if people aren't excited about you. You want people to be excited about you, you want people to come out and vote for you, you got to give them a reason to do it. And the reason needs to be compelling. Not based on, oh, it's not as bad as the next guy, but look at all these things that we've done. And not just things that we've done that have changed your life in a positive way significantly, right? And a bad faith actor might point out that there is something that Biden did that does have an immediate impact. And I never said that he didn't do anything that doesn't have an immediate impact. What I'm saying is that he didn't do enough to fundamentally change the lives of enough people. So to make up for that, they want to make up with how we sell it, right? You're trying to rent an apartment. Apartment's not that good. It's kind of old, and then you say it's charming, right? People look at your old apartment and they don't want to rent it, and then you're like, oh, we got to work on our messaging. No, the apartment sucks. Right? It's not about being clever about using words like charming. It's about making the apartment better than it is, so it's actually something a lot of people want, so you can get it rented, right? Focus on the substance, right? Not on the marketing and the words and the communications. That stuff is important. I'm not saying communication is not important, but the most important thing is what you're delivering for the American people that they can feel now, not 3 years from now, 10 years from now. And I know some things take time, right? But don't hide behind that excuse for your weak sauce behavior and lack of doing more for the American people in the now as opposed to in the future. What are your thoughts? This is the Baby Channel, the Baby comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.